Hi everyone, I thought I would share this goal setting spreadsheet with you because I started using it partway through last year and I found it really helpful. And this year, obviously, I'm going to start from the very beginning of the year. And it's just a good place to keep everything centralized. Now, if you're a person that loves, journals and pens and paper, I do too. But I also find this helpful because sometimes things get lost along the way on different bits of paper and things like this. And this keeps me much more centralized. And also, you can create one of these for every year and then look back on them. And I think that's helpful too. So the first thing I'm going to say is when you open this, when you click on the link, you need to make a copy for yourself. If you don't do that and you start filling it in, people will be able to see it and you don't want that. So you can see here, please make a copy, choose file, and then option 4, that should say, I'll change that. Fourth option down, make a copy. Okay, so all you do is you go file, make a copy, and then you're saving it to your G drive. So you can call it whatever you want. So I could say Alison's goals 2023. And then you've made a copy, you know it's in your drive, you know it's totally private to you. So you just click make a copy, and that would be the copy. You can see as soon as you click that, you can see that it's yours and it's saved to your drive. So that's the first thing. I'm going to go back to the template now, and then once you've once you've made that copy, you can remove this line. Okay, so you just delete that row in your copy, not in this one. Okay, so this is basically how I use it. You can have your big picture goals for 2023. Now, this could be something like start a podcast. I'm going to talk about business and personal goals as well. You could even split them if you wanted to. You could, put your business ones first, then your personal ones. Your personal ones could be things like I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to make sure I go to the gym 3 times a week, or I want to walk 6 days a week, or I want to try and drink more water. Be specific in that. I want to drink 6 glasses of water a day. Whatever it is, everyone's going to be different. I'm not saying those should be your goals. I'm just trying to think of some more generic ones. One of my big ones this year is I want to read 52 books per year. So I would put down here, read 52 books per year. And then obviously you can have some notes. And then at the end of the year, you're going to have did you achieve? And I will actually just drag that down. And so if you add more things than there are lines here, all you need to do is highlight that and then drag it down for the tick box. If you ever want to find a tick box, you just go over the cell and then you go insert and tick box. So that's kind of just another way to add it. So you write down your goals, start a podcast, earn, I don't know, $40,000 this year. Put all the things down, all the things that are important to you. I wouldn't go crazy. And this isn't the place to start digging down into the individual steps. This is definitely the big picture place. So you want to get as much down here in terms of those big goals that you have for the year. Now, you can't tackle too many goals at once. So although you've got 12 months ahead of you, remember those 12 months will go fast. So make sure they are things that are important to you. Once you've done that, then you dig into the months. So we've got Jan to March, April to June, July to September, October to December. Now, this is entirely up to you how you do this. So basically, you click into here and you've got the months. So, for example, if I want to read 52 books in a year, I know I've got to read roughly 4 to 5 per month because it's like one a week, basically. So, in January, I would put like read 5 books. And Then you've got notes, and you can always expand these out if you want to. You know, you can do whatever you want to there. Now, I could go down and I can, fill in what I want to. So, start a podcast. The I'm just showing you from the big picture goals. So, January might be research best hosting platform. The next one could be, and I'm mixing up personal and professional here. The next one could be um, walk 6 days per week. Or it could be, you know, 5,000 steps per day. Now, if you're doing it every day, that's fine. Your notes can be things like, um, you know, missed 3 days because of I wasn't well or something. It can be anything that you want to in there. Usually, if you're doing something like steps, you're probably going to have some sort of tracker, whether that's the pedometer or whether it's your phone. And then you can look back across the month and maybe you average it out. So, if you're aiming to walk 5,000 steps per day, and some days at the weekend you walk 15,000 or something, you could always look across your month and see if the average is 5,000 if you want to be. Or you can be very strict and you can be 31 days in January, did I walk those 31 days 5,000 steps? And then if you did, you can tick it off. If you didn't, you might want to put a reason why, or what might motivate you next month, something along those lines. So at the beginning of the year, you can either go through and fill out everything in terms of the steps, which can be helpful. So you could look at each of your big picture goals. So I could put in here, how many books I was going to read per month. Now, as you go through the year, you may have to adjust, because if it ends up that I don't read any books in January, I'm going to have to, find space for those somewhere along the line. And that can be helpful because it helps you keep on track. If you get to like March and you're like, oh my goodness, I've read 2 books, you're a bit out of line with that. So you can adjust. Maybe you need to calm it down. You've got too much else going on. Maybe you'll just change it to 30 books in the year. Now, don't be too easy on yourself, because obviously you do want to aim to reach these things, but we all have to be practical in what we can do and what we can fit in. Now, with other things like starting a podcast, you might want to put multiple steps in a month. Like you could do research best hosting platform. Then it could be, think of the main topic of the podcast, think of my topics for my first 10 or 20 shows. And if you want to do it in that way, you could do like your big picture goal, starting a podcast, and then you could just put these underneath. So come up with theme, decide on first 20 shows, and then you can decide, do I want to do everything in that month? So that one you could bold, and then you could have like health related ones. So, walk every day, drink 6 glasses of water, whatever's relevant to you, obviously. And then you could break it up in that way. There's no kind of real strictness to this. It could just be whatever you want it to be. You could have like crafts and hobbies, and then you could have read 5 books. It could be find a badminton class or something. Whatever you want it to be. you can break it down into those smaller steps. And that's what's super helpful about it. So it depends how many you've got. If you haven't got that many for each month, you could just do a list. If you really want to dig in and break your goals down into smaller steps, then this can be super helpful. So, for example, with the starting a podcast one, let's just continue that on. So, in January, you think you're only going to have time for those things. So then copy this over into February and come up with your next things. So it could be write the scripts for first 3 shows. You might not have a script, you might just be doing it, but you'll probably have notes. The next thing could be find 3 people to interview. And then the next thing, and so on and so forth. So you can just copy that over into March. And then obviously, I've only done 3 months per sheet because I think it just gives you a bit of space. It's easier than scrolling along all the time. So then you'd go over into April, you'd put your goals in there and carry on breaking it down. And some of these things, there are going to be lots of steps. Some of them are going to just be the same thing repeated over and over, like reading books. It's probably going to be read 4 to 5 books a month. So then at the end of the month, or as you're going along, you're going to come through and you're going to see what's happened here. So, for example, read 5 books. If I haven't achieved it, I'm not going to tick it off, but I'm going to put, read 2 books, really short of time, something like that. Now, you can make these bigger, as I said, or if you want to, you can go format, wrapping, and wrap it. Oh, that wasn't very good showing, was it? So you can see when I make it smaller, it wraps the text so it doesn't go out of the cell, basically. So that's it. If you've got any questions, you can always find me in Market Your Business with Joy group if you want to come over and join me there. So you can just type that in and you'll find us. Or if you've received this on your email, then, hit reply and ask me a question. Whatever is fine. But I hope that's helpful. I just thought it's a good way to keep all your goals in one place. And it's also a good reminder. Then in your calendar, set yourself a reminder, or in your I use Todoist for my upcoming, reminders. You might set it in your calendar, you might write it in your handwritten diary. And then what you can do is you can set yourself a reminder to check in, obviously, on the first of the month, because that's when you want to put your goals into place. I would then have a reminder mid-month and another reminder at the end of the month. Now, if you're someone that is keeping really on top of things, this might become something that you check in with most days, because particularly if you break down your big picture goals into smaller steps, you're going to be wanting to come in here to think about what I need to do next. If they're more broad ones and you're not breaking things down, just check in those 3 times a month, at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, because at the end of the month, you're going to go through and you're going to go, yes, I did. I researched. I know which hosting platform I'm going to use. I've come up with the theme and I've decided on my first 20 shows or 10 shows. That's just like the title and what you're going to talk about. So you're really happy with yourself there. Did I walk every day? You can look back and you can see and you can say, actually, no, I didn't. No, but 6 days per week, something like that. You just want those notes. So when you look back, like when you're on to July, you can look back and you can think, what went awry there? Is it like with the reading, I was just so short of time? Is there something I can do to build some extra flexibility? Can I say to myself, my morning routine is not that I'm going to go crazy and exhaust myself, is I'm going to have my first cup of coffee or tea of the day, and I'm going to give myself that extra 20 minutes to read a couple of chapters, or longer than that if you want to. Maybe it's getting up earlier, but not necessarily. We don't necessarily have to do the things that we don't want to, because sleep is important too. But maybe it is literally before you check your phone, or you dive into emails, or you head off to work, put that time aside. Is it that you take your Kindle to work, and in your lunch break, in the warmer months, you walk to the park, you get yourself a coffee, and you sit in the park for half an hour and you read your Kindle? Look at those little gaps of time where you can fit things in. Maybe you take your Kindle with you or your book with you, and you're waiting for your kids to come out of school, or you're waiting somewhere else, and you just fit in some extra time there. It's only by looking back at these things, and that's why the notes are important, because that's going to tell you a lot of good information about what you need to change in the months going forward. So I hope that's been helpful, and I'll see you soon.